Hello, I'm Jennifer Cassinson with Build Exact, and I'm here today to talk about a very exciting and intimidating topic. We're here to talk about AI, and we're going to put it in practical terms for you guys. And so I brought in two leading experts on AI, Varant Bamushkin and Lynn Thompson. And I just said your last name, Varant, and I just messed it up. So Varant Bamushakian, excuse me.
You got it.
He's the head of operations at the Association of Professional Builders, one of our partners, one of our great partners. You can always connect to them via one of our websites. And then Lynn Thompson is a consultant for AI in plain English. And we'll talk to them a little bit more about what they offer and the services that they offer. But I want to dig right in. We've got a lot to cover in the next 45 minutes. And as you come in, if you could just let us know where you're joining from. So go to the chat and let us know what kind of industry stakeholder you are, whether you're a builder, remodeler, and such, and then where you're calling in from. So we'd love to learn that about you now, if you can add that in the chat. And as we go through our session today, if you have questions, just push them into the chat and we'll try to address them as they come in. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Martina. Great to see you guys. This is awesome. So like I said, we have a lot to cover in the next 45 minutes. And so I'm going to start digging in. And exciting, we always start with a speed round. So the rules of engagement, Brant and Lynn, is that you guys get only one word or one sentence responses. And we're going to jump right in. And I know people are going to learn a lot about you as we go through the rest of the panel questions. So we're going to kind of skip intros for right now. So we're in the speed round. We're going to do short one word or one sentence responses to the next few. We'll start with you, Lynn, and then go to you, Varant. True or false, Lynn? AI is here to take over our jobs. I think you said false. I didn't hear you very well. I want to make sure you're...
Yes, definitely false.
Okay. All right, great. Varant?
I'm going to back you on that, Lynn. False. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Name a tool that uses AI that builders are using on a regular basis.
Build Exact, any kind of management software, inventory software, and certainly design build, design software.
For me, it's Fathom.ai, transcription software for recording meetings with customers.
Oh, right. Yeah, everybody uses that. Lynn, what is your favorite AI tool?
Gosh, being able to take measurements of a room automatically with a camera, LiDAR.
Yeah.
And mine's the good old trusty ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wasn't
Lynn,
very trusty.
where do you track information about AI and the advances, and how do you stay up to speed?
Hard. It's hard, and I try to read everything, and it's overwhelming. So if anybody's got a great system, let me know.
Lots of stuff, face-to-face events, masterminds, about half a dozen newsletters, and YouTube, as well as free trials.
Yeah. Lots of sources, and we're here to learn from you guys today. So we're expecting a lot from you guys. Caffeine up there, Lynn. Okay, Varant. When you get started, if you could tell people just a little bit about what Association of Professional Builders is, because anyway, just to give our audience a little bit more of an idea of who's talking to them, and then what you're advising your customers on how to use AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Association of Professional Builders is a coaching and training company which helps builders, residential home builders and custom builders learn how to run their businesses better, all the way from marketing, sales, finance. And we call ourselves APB just for short. And we've gone all in on AI, so much so that we're urging all our members to start embracing it. And we've put our money where our mouth is by hosting a range of face-to-face events across 4 countries. We've done 6 free webinars over the last years, and we've rolled out multiple versions of our AI action plan. And these are step-by-step guides that basically walk our students and our customers through the nuts and bolts of prompt engineering, as well as verifying outputs and more. We've also launched a free AI toolkit, which has seen around about 10,000 downloads. And one of our AI webinars this year had almost 2,000 registrants, which was huge. And what sets us really apart when we're building our action plans is a focus on the strategy. So not just the shiny features of, AI can do this, AI can do that, look how fantastic it is. It's about focusing on how to use it strategically in the business. And it helps our members zero in on exactly where they should be applying it and how it can help them boost their bottom line. So yeah, we do weekly updates in our members Facebook group as well, and also spotlight it in our summit events. So there's a big focus on AI here at APB at the moment, and we're certainly sharing as much information as we can with our customers and members.
Oh my gosh. And it sounds like almost like an unquenchable desire to understand it better. But it's the more that we have a desire to understand it better, the more it changes and evolves. And so it's like this continuous kind of cycle.
Yeah,
Lynn,
it's changing every week, right?
yeah, right. So Lynn, you've worked with very huge, large companies like Microsoft, and our customers are small business owners. What is the difference in the approach to AI-driven solutions?
Absolutely. So Microsoft obviously is building or co-marketing the solutions, the sort of that fundamental capability, that platform layer. And often who they're selling them to is then companies who build software who are then incorporated in software. And so I would say to a small to medium-sized builder, if you're beating yourself up for feeling like you're not using AI, don't worry about it. It's going to be coming to you mostly wrapped in other things you use, right? Actually, one of the silly examples is almost all of us have used Google Translate on a phone. That's AI, right? If you've got people on the job site who don't speak English and you're using Translate, that's AI. But most of the AI you're going to use is going to come to you baked in the software. So it will be software that takes all the measurements by using the camera on your phone, or a more updated version of it. It's going to be the accounting and back office software you use that's simply going to be more intuitive, do for you things you used to have to do for yourself. Things like also recording meetings and then giving you a summary of what was said. That's something that a lot of folks are moving to. That's AI. So I think often a small builder is not going to perceive they're using AI. They're going to be using AI baked into stuff because it's useful to them.
Yeah. And I think that you guys have both touched on this a little bit already, but you have to find a practical, rational way to apply it, especially as a small business owner, because otherwise it's not going to return the value, right? And it's easy to get, as we also talked about, it's easy to get a little lost in it because of all of the fast evolution and just the hyperbole. Anyway, Brant, you guys have an annual survey, so talk about that a little bit. And then in the survey, it said 38% of the thousands of respondents said that they were using AI currently. And can you talk a little bit about how they're using it and how do you think that will be changing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just ran our Sourcey survey, which is the State of Residential and Construction Industry survey. And we found that about 38% of our builders are using AI in their business. And it goes so much further than beyond just creating blogs and marketing content. So about 12 months ago, there was another survey across in the US, Shin Builder Partnerships, where they saw that 93% of folks were using AI for marketing. So, write a blog or create some social media content. But this year, our survey has shown that it's a much more diverse picture. So there's a bit more broad use across the board. So and diving deep into the stats, around 27 let me just check my notes, 27.6% of respondents are leveraging AI for marketing still. So that's still happening. And about 18.1% are turning using it for client communication. About 13.3% are using it for sales, and nearly 9% for internal automations, which is, you can see the diversity there. And interesting, and this is where I think Build Exact comes in as well. For things like estimating and project planning, there was about a 5.1% and a 4.3% respectively in those categories. So it's starting to gain a lot of traction in a lot of diverse areas, and we're seeing a lot more of AI's presence in different departments of the business. And I guess looking ahead in the future, this is only going to accelerate. So just backing on what Lynn said, a lot of software that's pushing out their updates are starting to integrate AI into their stack. So builders won't even know that they're using AI. It's sort of baked into the tool. And you guys have done that too with Build Exact. And also the chat GPTs of the world, and Claude, ChatGPT, and other large language models, their models are getting smarter, faster, and better. So you don't need to be you don't need to have a doctorate in prompt engineering to be able to get really good results and outcomes. It does a lot of the thinking and rationalizing for you. So I think in a couple of years' time, AI is not going to be a novelty like it is right now. It's going to be baked into almost every tool that we use, and it's going to be integrated as a seamless workflow. And you're going to depend on it as much as you depend on spreadsheets or email or even a good old hammer. It's not going to be, it's not just the future. I think it's going to be the new normal in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, that's funny because now we're talking about, like, whenever you go to somebody's website or whatever, it's like AI/enhanced whatever it is. And, AI powered technology, AI this, AI that. And it will become, we went through that whole evolution. So we went to e-commerce, we went to email, and so everything had the E dash something, and now we've got the AI dash something. And so where everybody wants to be talking about, everybody wants to be promoting it as a feature or a benefit. But I think you're right. And you said a couple years time. Is that like, lick your finger, stick it in the air? How are you thinking about, like, when will that happen really? When it's like a normal part of business as usual?
Yeah, look, it's already starting to happen. I think 3 or 4 of the tools that I use on a daily basis have AI baked in. So I think within 2 to 3 years, it's going to be pretty mainstream. If I just go, if I stick my finger in the air.
Right. So Lynn, you already gave some examples, and you probably have some more to share, but you already gave some examples of what builders are using and remodelers are using in terms of AI without even knowing it. But you also mentioned that they're always outside of their offices. So that kind of changes the dynamics of everything, right? So can you talk about those two elements for a minute?
Yeah. So one of the things, we can all laugh about AI this and AI that, and it's hyped up, and .com used to be what have you. But there is a fundamental thing. Almost every system that exists today can have a conversational front end. If it's your accounting software, if it's your inventory, if it's your supplier's inventory, whatever system that you go to today and type in can, with AI, it really is AI, can have a conversational front end. And if you're a builder whose functional office is your pickup truck, right? Then the conversational front end makes it much easier for a builder to interact with these things versus trying to use a tiny keyboard, trying to get to a site that's not optimized for mobile from a mobile device. So in that way, I think it has huge potential for builders just by the nature of the fact that they don't spend their days sitting in front of a computer.
Sorry, go ahead.
Certainly, there's all kinds of things that people are already using, and I think a lot more that they will be using shortly. Again, like the measurement. So in other words, getting the measurements into a system, you probably have design software you're using right now, but it starts with somebody with a tape measure. Well, that step will go away, and you'll be able to move a lot faster. What AI lets us do is take away the drudgery work so you can move faster. So instead of taking a bunch of measurements and then going back to your client a week later with a couple of design options on paper, or at least fixed electronically, you can go back you can do a very fluid thing right there on the spot and show them what it's going to look like. And that we have some early indications gets people to yes faster. So if you can reduce that sales cycle time, that can make a big difference in your business.
Well, Lane, and I want you guys both to weigh in on this. I read an article, it's been a minute, but the premise of the article is that AI makes us more human. So it allows us to focus on those human touch points and takes away the tedious, maybe technical things. And, like you just said, if we don't have to be spending, if we go into a homeowner's house, we don't have to be spending all of our time there measuring it. We can be talking to the client about who they are, what they need, what they want, building a relationship with them in a different way versus getting frustrated because they didn't move anything and you need to now go in and move things and measure things. And hope that you're right, and have an accurate measurement. So what do you guys say about that? Like, does it really make us more human?
I believe so. One of the things, just conceptually, if you can think of any computer system requires us to interact with it, and we really have to meet it where it is, right? So that means we have to use a keyboard. We have to use a touch screen. So we have to come to it. And the more complex things require us to even think like it thinks. If you're looking for at an old Google search, right, you had to understand how the logic works. It's this, not that, that, and that. What these models let us do is just be human and interact with computers. The computer meets us where we are. It also takes away just an awful lot of the drudge work so that we can do the stuff that we're actually good at, uniquely good at, right? And that's a big part of it. So it will take away some jobs. It may mean that you don't need a bookkeeper now, but generally it'll free up that person to do something of higher value for your business, right? But it should take all the tedium away. And particularly anytime you find yourself taking something out of that's in a computer and you have to retype it into a computer, that's an opportunity for AI. Not that you, the contractor, should go build that stuff, but somebody's going to build it for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Brant, what do you think about that?
Yeah, great answer, Lynn. Look, you probably said a lot of the stuff that I would have said, so I won't repeat it. But yes, I agree with that. I think it's going to make us a little bit more human, just because it takes that dredge work out. It's going to speed up outputs dramatically. So you're going to have more time to spend with your customers. You're going to spend more time with your employees. And yes, it is going to mean that there's going to be some job losses. I know I said false at the start of this for the speed round, but it's also going to create new types of roles and new types of jobs. So I think, anything that makes it easier for us to go through the workplace and have more efficiencies is just going to give us more time for higher value things, and the higher value things being human communication, rubbing shoulders with your team members a little bit better. So all in all, yeah, away from spreadsheets, away from dredge work, and more time for high value tasks.
Yeah.
Vital.
Yeah. So as we're talking about being human, another human trait is fear. So I think as humans, we get very comfortable in what we're doing, what we know, and AI is kind of this unknown that we've talked about that a little bit here and there. Brant, how have you seen that materialize with different technologies, and what would your advice be to overcome that fear?
Yeah, great question. And look, humans naturally fear change because it pushes us into a place of the unknown. But if you look back in history, some of those once daunting, scary technologies, like in the 60s when the ATM, the automatic teller machine, was released, people were very distrustful of it at first, and they were still opting in to go into the bank and use the teller. And the same was for the internet. When the internet first started becoming mainstream, people thought that it was just a passing fad, and online banking was distrustful. I shouldn't use online banking. I should still deal with the banks directly. But both of those things, all three of those things, are now woven into our daily lives. They're synonymous. Um, and I think AI has got the capability or the potential to go down that path as well in a couple of years. where it's going to be just as routine as using, your handheld smartphone, for example. And I guess my advice out is start embracing it now, start embracing it early, start building your muscle memory and your comfort level so you can start positioning yourself to be a user and an understander of AI. And by doing so, you'll be able to gain its benefits from now. So starting to use softwares and tools that already have AI integrated into it, starting to use the generic chatbots that are out there, Claude and ChatGPT, just to get a feel of how to ask AI for an outcome, or ask AI for a solution, or ask AI on how to think of something differently. Install it on your smartphone, use the voice feature, just to take away the barrier of having to type something. So I think both of you mentioned a lot of people are out of the office and on job sites. Having it on your phone and just pressing the little microphone record button, asking a question, whether it be replacing Google search and asking the AI to search for a topic for you and get you a result, or just brainstorming something out, or even taking a picture of handwritten notes and having that transcribed into text. Starting to use it in little ways will start building muscle memory, and I think it'll start negating that fear and start building confidence in using this new technology.
So one of the things that you didn't really touch on, Grant, is the fear of privacy. So, I mean, one of the big headlines right now is how people are using AI and kind of stepping over intellectual property, privacy lines and property lines, and then how they're using it in ways that maybe contort reality a little bit. I was actually just looking at a home sale website that helps you take pictures of the house and then, change the landscaping and the sky and everything so that it looks just amazing when you're selling it. But I'm like, well, that's not what you're buying, So I think there's just sort of like this fear of that change of factual information, and then also of your own personal privacy. So what are the realities around that?
Yeah, absolutely. And great, great question. And there's two parts to this. On the privacy part, there's a huge concern there. ChatGPT and Claude and a whole bunch of AI tools, they're always giving you a free trial or a free snapshot or the ability to use it on a freemium level, so you can go in there and not pay something and use limited features. That's something to be very, very conscious of. Because if you're using a free tool or a tool that you're not paying for, something else is happening in the background. So for example, if you're using ChatGPT on an unpaid version, anything that you put into any of the data that you put into the chat is actually being used to help train the public large language model. So yeah, some of the information are going in there. Not saying that people are going to be asking ChatGPT about your name or your business and personal details are going to come up. No, not that. But still, it's feeding the large language model. So you're losing a little bit of privacy there. So be very, very conscious of using free tools and freemium software that use AI. The paid versions, and I would definitely suggest checking the terms and conditions. The paid versions generally have a gate between their public training as well as their as well as keeping your data private. So if you use, for example, a paid version of Claude or ChatGPT, any of the data that you put in there stays within your instance. It doesn't go out and train the public models. Now, to your second point, and I think they call it hallucinations, where AI makes up stuff. So with software tools that are integrating AI into it, I think it's much less of a risk because they've got such tight guardrails. They're only going to be showing you the data and information, your own data and information that's within the system. But if you're using open tools like ChatGPT and you're asking questions to create blogs, etc., at the moment, the technology is still relatively new as it's hit mainstream. It does have the propensity to hallucinate. So hallucinate meaning create results, create statistics, basically give you an answer that's going to make you happy. So I'll always disclaim to people when you're using AI, especially with specifics, if you're looking for statistics or case studies, etc., just double check it. Reach out to the old trusty Google and check those stats and make sure that they're accurate so that you're using the correct and accurate information.
That's really good. And Lynn, do you have any more to layer onto that?
Well, I would say the same as I would say to any business owner, or actually any person with assets, which is to be very cautious, particularly anything that's going to touch on financial banking, money transfers. There used to be a jewelry store here that used a phrase, if you don't know diamonds, know your jeweler. Right? So who of us does really know how to grade a diamond, so you want to go to a reputable place. Well, the whole field of security is changing so fast that it really does behoove you to go to a very reputable firm, and that can be, Claude and anything from Google, anything from Microsoft. But I would stay away from things that are maybe Chinese based. But particularly with your banking, do be cautious, double factor authentication, all of those things to keep yourself safe, because that's just the reality. The whole things about suing for intellectual property on the training of models, that's a fight that's happening between great big companies, and none of us can do anything about it, and let's let them go for it. But you do want to keep yourself safe, and you want to keep your information secure. Data breaches happen. We all know how many letters have you gotten saying your data was breached in one thing or another. So you have to assume stuff is out there. So you've really got to rely on your bank to make sure that they're taking care of things, and will ultimately be responsible if something goes wrong.
Yeah. Smart advice. Thank you, you guys. That's great. So
One silly thing is I never even had a checkbook until the most recent renovation I did, because contractors are like the only people left in the economy who want physical checks. Well, physical checks are now, we've learned now, though, that physical checks can be altered. So really get with the program and get where you can get paid immediately from the big banking apps, right? My bank will mail you a check, but you may not get it for 14 days. But if you sign up with them, you'll be getting the money immediately. And it's much safer than me writing the check, than you having the check. So get away from checks.
yeah, another smart piece of advice. So there's a lot of different ways to get started, Brant. And as a numbers guy, you are thinking about the return on investment. So how would you have our viewers think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to return on investment, I think the data is pretty clear. In 2023, Microsoft did a really cool survey, Microsoft IDC study, it was called, and they found that for every $1 invested in AI, companies were often netting about $3.50 back, with some seeing returns in around 14 months. And there was a small percentage of those folks, the high performers, who were seeing something like an $8 return to each $1 spent. So there could be some massive returns. So I'm not promising that everyone's going to experience this, but it's certainly going in that direction. And there's also some additional researchers such as Ernst & Young's Pulse survey and Google Cloud survey that sort of back these results from Microsoft as well, with some statistics showing up to a 76% increase in productivity for employees and individual users, and that's huge, 76% increase, and that's not across the board. That's just a average. And for our audience, I guess, it's like investing in specialized equipment for when they're on their job sites. Equipment that's going to speed up the job, require less people, and get a completion at a much faster rate. So it's going to be able to deliver long-term value and provide a serious return on investment, like the numbers that I was talking about before. And the key to this, I think, is the key to get this return on investment. So for every dollar you put in, you get $3.50 back, for example, is the strategy side. So not chasing the fanciest, newest AI tools, but it's to sort of identify the really time-consuming, repetitive tasks, like whether it be sorting leads or managing routine communications, and let AI handle that heavy lifting. So it's like adding a couple of extra helping hands on the team to get the work done much quicker, which is certainly going to turn around a return on investment for anyone who starts using it in a strategic manner.
Yeah.
100% agree on that. You want to take out the inefficiencies, because for most contractors, they have a finite number of hours in the day, right? And so if you're handling paper, you're not handling a customer, you're not swinging a hammer, right? So you want to get away from the tedious things. And then beyond that is if you can use some of these things to get a sale closed faster. So then, again, you're not wasting your time, you're actually doing billable work. And then I think you're also going to be interacting with your suppliers very much more with AI driven things. You may not recognize it as AI, but if you're using voice or what have you to tell the bot what you need, that's AI, right? But again, anything that can make things go more smoothly so that you, the human, can spend your time doing what humans are good at. And I guess I should say, I usually say in this kind of thing, robots are not good at swinging hammers, right? They're barely able to drive around a warehouse. I wouldn't let them drive around a street. Some people do, but and they are certainly not prepared to be, on the ground on a work site anytime soon. But anything that lets you, as the business owner, spend time doing the high value things and get out of the low value things, those are places to look for automation.
Yeah, and Lynn, just along that stream, that when you're looking for automation, you kind of have to. And we talked a little bit about this, but maybe if we could explore it a little bit more, is the right hardware. So sometimes it means having the right equipment, and how would you define that, and how and where should builders invest in that?
Yeah, if your cell phone dies, you're going to buy another one. There's a temptation to buy one of the cheaper models. Don't do it. Get the one with the LiDAR built in, which is the three cameras, so that it can take measurements, because even if you don't have a use for that right now, you will soon. Similarly, on PCs, go ahead and get the higher processing power, because even if you're not giving your customers virtual walkthroughs of their yet to be built space, you are going to pretty soon. And all this stuff takes up processing power. So it is worth having good stuff. If you need to replace something, I would say stay away from the cheapest options.
And then you mentioned that LiDAR is a great tool, but you have to have the right device for LiDAR, right?
LiDAR at this point only works on the iPhone Pros. Several model years, but iPhone Pro, that's the difference, is it has LiDAR. And you can look up LiDAR on their site and you won't even see it, because at this point they're not selling it on that because there's not really software that uses it. But you'll notice it's that kind of camera. Now, at this point, Android doesn't have it, but I suspect they will quite soon. It's always a chicken and egg. Capabilities, hardware to support it. But as these come out, I think we'll be getting it. And certainly, anybody who's still taking measurements with a, tape measure wants to get with the program.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, which is a huge thing, and Varant, I saw you hit the hit the nail on the head or touch your nose, that the one real opportunity is getting jobs closed faster for our listeners. So if you haven't already mentioned it, how does AI play a role there? How would you recommend that our users start thinking about AI to close jobs faster?
You can
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, go on. Go.
So, if you can show people what it will look like, and in particular, let them have a 3D experience of what their new space will look like, then they can see it, they can picture it, they can get excited. Nobody gets excited about a plan view, right? Even elevation views are pretty lame, but commercial architects make a walkthrough or a fly-through virtually. That's just part of their deal, right? So you want to show somebody what it's going to be like to walk into their new kitchen, how the sun is going to shine in. And that is very doable. And then you can also, much of it you could do on site with them, and so they can co-create with you. But you just want to take all that time of the process to get to yes out of it, because that's unwaged labor for you, right? But there's some manufacturers who are even showing that if they send their sales reps out with an iPad and you focus on the window that's there and show them what the new window would look like in that place, people are getting to yes faster.
Go ahead, Brant. You had something to add to that?
Yeah, no, look, I think throughout the entire process of engaging with customers, there's a lot of ways that you can use AI to, speed up the sale, get the outcomes that get the customer to an outcome or a decision, as Lynn said, get to a yes quicker. And they start all the way from the very first meeting using meeting transcription software to be able to quickly capture the notes so you're not having to handwrite notes down, which means that you can then take those transcriptions and create your customer communications at speed. Within 5 minutes of getting off the phone with a customer, you're already sending out communications with them, highlighting the conversation, going through what they've, summarizing what the customer have gone through, and then extension to that, obviously jumping into the 3D tools with the walkthroughs. It speeds up the whole process and it adds so much more color, I guess, to the entire thing, and allows, back to the human question that was there before, allows the business owners and the employees to spend more time with the customer and not worry as much on the tedious side, because you've got AI doing some of the heavy lifting. I know I've said a lot of high level stuff. I think Lynn covered it really well as well. But yeah.
Can you guys both name like one tech platform that does some of these things that you're talking about? Connor has asked a question, and I have a couple more audience questions that I'm gonna pepper you with, but examples of current tech that does this, it was the question. I think it's basically what platforms that you're seeing.
Yeah, there's one cool one that I've come across. I think it's called Digs. It's like a customer communication
Yes.
where you can upload. Yeah. Okay, there you go. You know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one really cool tool that I've seen that's being used quite a bit. Lynn?
Playing around with House Pro, Houzz. Jennifer, I'm not sure if you consider them a competitor. I think you do. My guess is this is going to be on everybody's roadmap if you don't have it now. So, but the ability to just scan the camera around the room, takes all the measurements in, deletes the furniture in the current cabinets, so then you can just pull it into a design software and start building what could be there.
Yeah, we actually, so Render's one you should check out, RENDR, and that's a lidar measurement tool. There's a question from Martina. Would average business owners and professionals be able to use AI themselves to bake it into their existing tech and software, or will that be required that AI tech specialists do this for us? And Lynn, I know you have a standard answer for this, which I appreciate.
I think it's going to come from your software developers. It's not worth your while, unless you happen to be a fabulous programmer who enjoys spending your weekends doing this. It's not worth your while to try to build it. People like Jennifer and others are going to build it at scale and make it available. I would urge everybody to try out the new features on the software that comes, even if you are not impressed with it the first time. One of the things about AI makes it different from other software is you release it when it's not very good, because the act of people using it makes it better, right? It learns what people ask. And if you have the feedback loops built in there, it learns to correct and do better. So these things need to get worked with to start to work. So use the new feature. Even if you say, oh, it's terrible, don't write it off. Go back in a month and use it again, go back in another month and use it again. These things will get much better by use.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, Martina, Build Exact is an online construction project management platform, and we do estimates. We take a user from pre-design all the way to final invoice and connect them with all the stakeholders in the process, the dealer, the homeowner, subs, everything. So yeah, I would encourage you to check out buildexact.com and see what you think. And we also have some AI tools that we're integrating. And then also, like I said, the render integration is coming up. It's right around the corner. So we have the LiDAR functionality. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my script here. We've answered a couple of audience questions. What do you both think about the younger generation's ability to use and adopt AI? And how can, I loved your answer before when we were talking about this, but how can builders leverage that in a marketing sense? Lynn, we'll start with you.
It's a little different. Certainly younger people tend to be more comfortable with this stuff. Let them use it, could be your junior carpenters, could be your kids. Some of the stuff, even if it seems head scratching to you, get them in there. I think it will put a lot of power in the hands of also the people who are on site. And so it does have a way of democratizing decision making as stuff is pushed down. But you're gonna have to use it. So take a little time and work with it. And if you have to ask your 14-year-old to help you, well, I've been there, done that. So it's embarrassing, but you'll go through it.
Yeah. Grant, you use AI to run APB as well. And can you talk about how you've been using it to review contracts and how that can be translated to a builder's business in a smart, practical way, or what's a good first step for that?
Yeah, sure. At the Association of Professional Builders, we're using AI quite a bit for contract review, but I will disclaim, if you're finalizing contracts or doing big work, always reach out to a solicitor or a lawyer for final approvals. So just using a paid account with ChatGPT, that's step one, using a tool like that, a paid tool like that, to make sure that any of the data that you put in there is kept confidential. So I'm talking about a generic tool here that's a bit more flexible on the use cases. And the way that we use ChatGPT for contract reviews is asking it what ifs. For example, when we're dealing with our vendors and contracts that are coming in from them, we ask the questions of, load the contract in and ask, what happens if I'm delayed, or what happens if I have to cancel, or demystify this for me a little bit, or explain this part of the contract for me in a easier to understand language. And I think builders and contractors can apply the same approach to their contracts that they're receiving from their subcontractors or their suppliers or their clients, and quickly do what if scenarios and understand what might happen by just querying the contract using natural language. You can also use these tools, AI tools, to be able to do small tweaks. So if you're negotiating something and you need to change a clause, AI is fantastic at mimicking the language that's in there so that it looks like it's consistent. It's consistently written as part of the greater document. But of course, once again, check with your lawyer and solicitor if there's some big changes. It's certainly not a substitute for professional advice, but it makes understanding legalese so much easier because you can just have a conversation with it. You load the contract up and you ask, hey, what does this mean? Or what does that clause mean? Or what will happen if this happens? And that can speed things up quite a bit in the back end because you're not having to dive through 17 pages of dense legal talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge time saver. So another question from the audience, could there be legal repercussions on intellectual property, copyright, and creative rights by using AI?
Those will redound to the people who make the models. So if you don't need to worry about it. Unless you're in the model making business, but that's not going to be, you have to also have your own data center, billion-dollar data center to do that. So don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Well, you guys, this has been a fascinating conversation. We still have a final speed round, which hopefully we can provide some other great insights to our audience, and everybody has a pretty good thought on how they're going to take a first step. But before we do that final speed round, Brant, will you tell us how people can get in touch with you and APB, and Lynn, can you do the same?
Yeah, sure. To get in touch with APB, just jump onto our website, the Association of Professional Builders.com, or just Google APB, and you can find me on LinkedIn. So if you can Control C, Control V, my surname, I'm probably one of the very few out there in the world that has that unique long name. You'll find me on LinkedIn pretty quickly.
Fabulous.
You
Lynn?
can find me at decodingai.net, not .com, decodingai, all one word, .net, or on LinkedIn. And if you notice the spelling Thompson without a P, that narrows it down a good bit as well.
Awesome. And then I pulled some graphics from the Home Improvement Research Institute, and I know Lynn and I are very familiar with them. We've been to their summit, and I get their reports on a regular basis. they did some surveys on contractors and how they're using AI. And top areas where people are using AI is developing proposals, bids, or cost estimates for clients, and assisting with project planning, scheduling, or managing timelines. Those were the top two. Then generating design concepts, or project visualizations, came in after that. Drafting emails or communications, and then preparing technical documentation, reports, or compliance paperwork. So a lot of great options to get started. And just thinking about that, we'll do our final speed round. And again, thank you guys for participating. This has been so fun. Okay, same rules here. We'll do one word or short sentence answers, and we'll start with you this time, Brant. How many years will it take before you have to be using AI, or you won't be able to run a business successfully?
I think 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah. What is the one thing that you want to understand better about AI?
How it arrives at answers. And I think the more transparent the reasoning, it's going to be easier to trust.
Mm.
I understand. I was thinking about what I want other people to understand, which is that it is not magic. On the other hand, it is probabilities. And the reason that you can't tell you how it arrives at answers is they don't actually quite know.
Yeah, that's a good answer. What one piece of advice or call to action do you have for our audience?
Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it again.
Lynn, you took my line. No,
That's why I went
that's
fast.
actually that's sage. That's sage. Use it daily. Install it on your phone. Pay for a tool. Install on your phone and just use it daily. Lean in so you can get some comfort and muscle memory using it from now.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Varant. Thank you, Lynn. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Martina, thank you as well. And thank you for everybody who sent us in questions. Connect with Lynn and Varant, and check us out at Build Exact. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.